have a forum this evening, a little different setup, but we're all here. And I'm wondering, sorry y'all, I'm back. Can you hear me now? I keep wondering if we should take off our masks when we're talking. I don't know the answer. Maybe we'll just talk really close
I
to
would say
the
keep
microphone.
them on.
Yeah, we're going to talk, everybody talk really close.
Try our best.
To the microphone. Okay, it's 6:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. All right, this meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Opens Meeting Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. Mr. Jenkins will be leading us in the pledges this evening.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, we'll take a bit of time for a moment of silence. All right, thank you. And it's so nice to be here and see real people and not have to worry about screens and Zoom buttons and mute buttons. And it's nice to see real life flags. So I think we're all happy to be here. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez for his superintendent announcements.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Seguin community. We are officially 2 weeks out from the first day of school on September the 8th, and as expected, there is a lot of excitement surrounding the new school year. On August the 17th, we welcomed our new teachers back with a virtual convocation. I received a lot of positive feedback from staff regarding the message shared by our keynote speaker, Dr. Tyrone Howard. His presentation touched upon the challenges that many communities currently face, especially as students are returning into classrooms or learning from home during the COVID pandemic. I want to thank our Learning and Leadership Services staff for arranging the convocation event with Dr. Howard. We continue to engage with our stakeholders with virtual town hall meetings. These webinars have been popular with parents, students, and staff to learn firsthand about learning opportunities and health and safety protocols that will be in place this fall. Last week we hosted 3 town halls, including one with a focus on special education. Earlier today, we hosted a second special education town hall. Town halls for staff and community tomorrow afternoon will address some of the ideas submitted by stakeholders through our online thought exchange platform. The last day that meals will be served through the Seguin ISD Summer Meal Program is Thursday, August 27th. On this day, breakfast, lunch, and lunch meals will be provided through Monday, August the 31st. I want to thank our Seguin ISD families for trusting the district to provide over 300,000 meals to the children of Seguin over the course of 150 plus days since March. I truly appreciate the hard work and dedication of the child nutrition, transportation, and custodial staff to provide meals during the closure and over the course of the summer months. Rain nor 100-degree heat while wearing masks deterred our employees from serving our students. I am grateful to have selfless individuals working in Seguin ISD. A special thank you to the Seguin Chamber of Commerce for teaming with area businesses to provide welcome bags for our new Seguin ISD teachers. The businesses that contributed, we are grateful for, and those include Vogue Shoes, Dietz Flower Shop, Dr. Donna Campbell, Pag Rig, Mary Kay, GVC, First United Methodist Church, CVB and Visitor Center, Ups and Grounds, Keller Williams Heritage, Gifting Gourmet, Seguin Family Medicine and Med Spa, South Texas Pregnancy Care Center, Guadalupe Blanco River Authority, 1960 Bar and Bistro, Edward Jones, GRMC, San Anthony Jewelry, RBFCU, Galaviz Real Estate Group, Angels Pest Control, Shirts Bank, S&S Decorating, Hope Hospice, Pet Supplies Plus, Seguin Smiles, Seguin Sports Boosters, and ServPro. It's wonderful to have so many local businesses and organizations supporting the educators of Seguin ISD. Another organization that provides a tremendous amount of support to our district is the Seguin Sports Boosters. This group of parents and community members does a tremendous amount of work to benefit Seguin ISD athletics. Later in tonight's meeting, trustees will be asked to approve donations made to the district. We are super fortunate to have received a donation on July 24th by the Seguin Sports Boosters in the amount of $10,865 towards our athletic programs. Thank you to the boosters for all of your dedication and support. And with us this evening, we have 3 representatives with Seguin Sports Boosters. We have Kathy Biker, Karina Galaviz, and Rebecca Mendez Aguilar. And at this time, we're going to take a quick photo.
And Mr. Biker's signing in.
Spread out.
You showed up. Well, we can stay together.
All right, on 3, 3, 3, and 3.
Big
Great.
smile.
Even though we have a smile on, it's under the mask.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I am looking forward to seeing our students and educators doing what they do best in the coming weeks. We are going to minimize the challenges along the way, and as always, do what is best for the students of Seguin ISD. I promise that we will be patient with our families, and I ask that they are also patient with us. Together, we are Seguin Strong.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. And thank you, Sports Boosters. We really appreciate y'all's commitment to the high school and the programs at the middle school as well. All right, next up is our audience with the board, and we did not have anyone sign up this evening, so we're going to move straight on to item 3, reports and information items. And first up is our COVID-19 public health support. Ms. Legore, I believe, is going to introduce us to a few folks.
Well, good evening, everybody. Well, as we've been busy working on the blueprint for the school district, the public health component involves coordination. I don't want to get too close to the microphone. So when you deal with a lot of public health and read a lot of things, it causes a little paranoia. So as we've been working on the blueprint, the public health component involves coordination outside of Seguin ISD. And as we navigate this COVID-19 response, we really look to the outside of Seguin ISD and the local resources that we have to help us. So integral in our planning have been the local resources, 2 of which are here today, which has helped us to connect with Region 8, which is the Department of Health Services, which we fall under the authority of, GRMC, local physicians, as well as the Comal County Health Authority. So although Guadalupe County does not have our own health authority, Comal County does, and so they also have medical director up there for the school district. So we have been able to tap into that knowledge base as well as we are developing what our plans are. So tonight, who we have with us is Patrick Pender. He is the Guadalupe County Fire Marshal and Emergency Management Coordinator, so you may have heard him speaking to commissioners' courts and reporting regularly in emails. So he's with us tonight, as well as we're going to have Dina Hink, who's the CEO with the Guadalupe Healthcare Network, and she has really been integral in connecting us to GRMC. And we're going to be talking, and they're going to be talking about what their roles are in coordinating with the school districts, just on a much bigger role than we have in the past. We've always coordinated, but COVID-19 has just really made us have very close contact with one another very regularly. Give us a current update on what the local conditions are, and then we're going to continue, of course, this coordination through the entire school year as we navigate students coming back and as we look at potential quarantining. We are all a part of all of those decision making. So I'm just glad that they're here tonight to really just give you an update and, of course, answer questions that you may have, because I think we all constantly have questions, and we just help each other answer them all. So, Patrick. So we'll start with Patrick Pinder. So Patrick, there's the microphone.
Good luck.
Get as
Good
close
luck.
as you wish.
Commissioner's Court tells me I talk over the microphone, so hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay. Go to the third slide. Okay. So the numbers that I'm going to present to you guys today are the same numbers that I presented in court this morning. So if you paid attention to Commissioner's Court, or if you watched Commissioner's Court, the information I'm fixing to provide you is the same information. So currently in Guadalupe County, we have not Guadalupe County, I'm sorry, in the state of Texas, we have 577,537 cases. In Region 8, which is composed of 20 different counties that Department of State Health Services Region 8 is combined in, we have 9,889 active cases. So that includes Guadalupe County, Bexar County, Comal County, Gonzales County, Victoria, Refugio, all these different counties, some that go to the west. So if you're not familiar with that area, I can send you a map and you can kind of see all the different counties. There are 1,165 deaths in Region 8. That number has gone up a little bit since last week. So each week I look at these numbers and I kind of give a comparison, and the slide at the end, it'll show you a 6-week breakdown of what the COVID numbers have looked like since July 6th. In Region 8, we have 58,170 cases. The next slide, please. Okay, so these are the numbers for Guadalupe County. These are the numbers that come out on my chart every day, that comes out in the county press release that I know the radio station and the paper both report on. So the numbers as of last night were 2,202 patient or COVID cases in Guadalupe County. Out of those 2,000 cases, there are 263 active cases, and there are 222 pending cases. Now, when I say pending cases, that means those are cases that have not been reported to us at the location of where they are. So over the weekend, that number always goes up. So on Friday, the county was reporting about 165 cases. Saturday and Sunday hit, they don't report the numbers, so Monday, that's why that number goes up. The state has reported to us 40 deaths in Guadalupe County. I'll show you a chart in a little bit and you'll see the number, how that's fluctuated. The reason we have 40 now is because we got the information now, and I'll explain that when we get to that chart. The information as of this PowerPoint yesterday, GRMC only had 0 cases. I do have an update on that. GRMC has 1 patient at the hospital. I got that information today, so that's good news that it's low. It's bad news that there is somebody there. There's 1,939 recovered cases in Guadalupe County. Next slide, please. This slide is outdated already, but GRMC has reported 34 deaths in Guadalupe County. 28 of those are county residents. So out of all the deaths that have happened there, 28 of those for sure are Guadalupe County residents. The other ones, we don't know the county that they reside in. Earlier, I reported that there were 40 deaths in Guadalupe County reported to us, but if you go to the state's website, you'll see that there's 66 deaths in Guadalupe County. There's a discrepancy. It's because the state has not updated Guadalupe County with that information. So there's 26 people that have passed away, and we don't know, we don't have the information. So This is the one, the next slide, please. This will show you kind of the 6-week trend. So if you look at the numbers on July 6th, we had 47 active cases in the county, 333 recovered people in the county, and at GRMC, we had 43 hospitalized patients. We had 3 deaths reported at that time. If you see the trend, the information started to become more available. The week of August 10th is the week that the Department of State Health Services provided Guadalupe County with all of those active pending cases. They basically provided me a spreadsheet of over 40 pages, and we had to input that data into here and find out, you know, all the information and isolate it to get their categories. So the August 24th numbers, those are the same numbers I just reported, but you can see at GRMC, early on they had 43 patients, now they have 0. That was reported yesterday, now they have 1. And the deaths, now we got the information, that number has increased. So when we started having early conversations with school districts about COVID, what we were looking at was hospitalizations and deaths. Because at that time, I met with Seguin ISD, I'd say probably that 3rd week of August, and I'd just gotten all that information, and it was hard for school district, their school district, to make a decision on whether to go back to school in person or to go back to school remote, because the information that I was putting out was conflicting. So one thing that we started to focus on at that time when we started having our school district meetings every Wednesday was the hospitalizations and the deaths, because that is the information that needed to be watched. If our hospital was at capacity, that's something that would need to be of concern. If our deaths were too high, that was another thing we needed to watch for, because we could have an issue there. The active cases, because at that time the information was 2 weeks old. So if we weren't getting the most up-to-date information, boards like yourself could make the accurate decision on either to bring kids back to school or not bring kids back to school. That's why we stopped relying on that information and actually started to go with our local hospital here. And that's when we got with GRMC, and we started getting with some of our other facilities at for the deaths. The other reason deaths is so different is because the state pulls vital statistics. So DSHS actually pulls the death records from the clerk's office, and I don't have access to that. I can have access to it, but it's not public record. So I'm going to go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is the breakdown that breaks down individual cities. New Braunfels has 18 active cases. Cibolo has 77 active cases. Seguin currently has 48 active cases. Schertz in Guadalupe County side has 57 active cases. The city of Marion has 3 active cases. Selma in the Guadalupe County side has 12. In the unincorporated area of the county has 48. So that's kind of a rundown on the numbers for Guadalupe County. If you guys have any questions about the numbers or anything in particular, I can address that. Also, what we are doing is we are working with, I do have a meeting with Mr. Gutierrez on Thursday. The county is also looking at helping out school districts with the CARES funds. So one thing that is going to be discussed is everybody has expenses associated with COVID. You have costs that COVID gave the school district, so does the county. So we're looking at all those different options, and we want to help the school district, so that's why I'm meeting with all the different superintendents to address those issues, and then we're going to take those issues to the county judge and the commissioner's court. We will have a workshop on that to discuss that next week. So. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have figures on the positivity rate right now in Guadalupe County?
So unfortunately, I don't. The positivity rate has to be based on the percentage of tests given and the percentage of positive test results given back. So the state only gets the positives, they don't get the negatives. So if you go to a local healthcare facility and you test, and your test comes back positive, that information is relayed to the Department of State Health Services. If you test and it comes back negative, that information is not relayed to Department of State Health Services. So Guadalupe County does not have a positivity rate. GRMC has a positivity rate, but that is only because they have their specific information. But overall county, we do not have a positivity rate to provide. Any other questions? And if any of you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to answer those. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
And then we also tonight have Dina Hink. She's the CEO of Guadalupe Health Network. All right,
So I brought my wrong glasses.
uh-oh. Do you need me to interpret for you?
Mr. Jenkins needs a hold of it. Just kidding. So I'm Dina Hink. I'm the CEO of Guadalupe Healthcare Network. I've been there for 25 years. My main job is to do managed care contracts, but since COVID in March, that has all kind of changed a little bit. So I obviously work with Guadalupe Regional Medical Center for about 27 years, but I also have 2 other hospitals in Kennedy and Floresville. And I also have 250 physicians in 4 counties, Guadalupe, Comal, Wilson, and Karnes County. So I have quite a bit of physicians who work on these issues, and we work with them quite a bit. So when COVID happened, one of my main jobs, my first jobs, was to help them get the PPE that they needed. And one of the first entities that helped us get PPE was Seguin ISD. So we appreciate the fact that Seguin was one of the first entities that came to our aid when we needed it to help our physicians be protected when they were testing their patients. So we appreciate that support. We greatly help that. So now it's our turn to do the same and help the school districts and the things that they need in order to help protect their schools, their staff, their students, and the families that they represent. So that's why we're here. So we tried to reach out probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and thankfully, your leadership here has been amazing. Never hesitated to partner and do the right things for your school. They have looked at the guidelines that are out there, which are ever-changing, confusing. It's just a web of information, and then you have this ranking of who ranks first. Typically, the golden rule in the healthcare world is that the CDC guidelines on COVID have a tendency to kind of be the golden rule of what you should follow, and then followed by the other entities that you guys have to follow. For example, the TEA, state, DHS, etc. So there's a lot of different entities at play, and at times some of those guidelines may conflict, so we have to all work together to figure out what the best thing is for your district, for your students, for your staff, because nobody wants to have a sick child, nobody wants to have a sick staff member. So I would commend your leadership, quite frankly, even some more than others, that they are really taking a hard line and doing what's best for your staff and for your students. So when they are presenting you policies, I would really take that to heart, because they have looked at what's easy, maybe politically easy, or what's right medically, and I think that they're taking the right course. So I would commend your leadership on that, and I really do. I say that from the heart. One of the things that we do, as Patrick mentioned, and Patrick is an unsung hero of mine, he is definitely working through a lot of very challenging things, so he's definitely one of my heroes from a local level. We get together on a weekly basis, usually Wednesday mornings, bright and early at 7:30, and we meet with physician leadership, we meet with the hospital leadership, county leadership, city leadership, district leadership, not only from Seguin, but Navarro, Marion, Sturt-Cibolo leadership, and we all get together and we try to come up with what's best for our districts. So they're not working in a vacuum of information, they're trying to look out, and I think sometimes in this situation, partnerships and collaboration is the best way to look at that. So if you're trying to set a masking order that may be different from your other local school districts, and then you get into this political, well, so-and-so doesn't do it that way. So hopefully they can talk about what the right way is to do it, and then we're all walking in tandem and making the better decisions. Again, with the idea that I say patient because that's my world, student safety, staff safety should be your utmost concern, right? Because nobody wants to have to go down and look at a liability case 6 to 9 months from now because we didn't do the right things to take care of those people. So that's important. So please listen to your staff when they're making those decisions. We do meet regularly. We talk about the masking order. We talk about what the best masking policy should be, what is a mask and what isn't a mask. And so sometimes that's politically challenging, I know.
But we really want to encourage you guys to look at what the CDC recommends and what it doesn't recommend and make those good, hard decisions, because we're finding as people use, and I use the very popular decision of the net gaiters, for example, sometimes they do not provide the best protection for kids, and we're finding that, particularly in athletic departments, et cetera, that those are where you're starting to see cases pop up, because they're not wearing the mask, they're wearing these gaiters. There might be other types of things that are trying to be done that go around what the CDC recommends, and so in order to be safe, we really try to recommend the best thing. There's also some times where people want to wear just the face shields, the clear face shields, because verbal communication, particularly with younger students, is important. You know, they want to see the facial expressions. I understand all of that, but still, it doesn't, by itself, doesn't protect from the aerosolizing of the virus. So those are some things that are being taken into consideration. There's other things that we're working on. I have a whole list of them here. I won't bore you with all those details, but from how you identify a student or staff member who might have COVID, what do you do with them now? Do you isolate them? When do they come back? So we're working with that, with the different professionals to say, this is what you should do in this event. So working with these scenarios and trying to determine what you should do. And then as of this afternoon, I believe we finally have a good reporting mechanism back to the Region 8 as to how those should be reported back to them to help them identify and do what they call contact tracing to identify and communicate with patients who may have COVID and identify those. So those are just samples, and I would tell you that our list changes every single week because something new happens. So again, I would tell you, you have really great leadership here at Seguin ISD. I commend you for their work, and we appreciate everything that both Dr. Gutierrez and Kirsten, and I know that their staff, a lot of unsung heroes that you have, that are doing to try to protect your staff and students, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
And we do appreciate you putting the spotlight on our leadership team. They've done a tremendous job dealing with this.
Thank you so much.
Which leads us into, it's a good segue, into our next agenda item, which is the update regarding the back-to-school blueprint. Mr. Conti. And I do want to say, I think this is a very well-written document. I think it's really easy to read. And you break it down clearly, so I don't know exactly who wrote it, or if it was the number of you putting bits and pieces into it, but I do really appreciate the document.
This is really the product of a collaborative group meeting since May, when we when we launched the reopening task force, and started planning for the unknown, and then planning for multiple scenarios, and then getting to this point that continues to change, and I'm just thankful for all of those who've contributed, and this team continues to make updates as things change, whether it's coming from TEA or the latest recommendations from health experts, and Mark is going to highlight some of those changes that you may not have had an opportunity to see. And this also affords you an opportunity to ask some questions and seek clarification, because it has been some time since we've visited the blueprint together.
All right, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen, President of the floor, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Gutierrez. As Dr. Gutierrez mentioned, this is a culmination of many people coming together to work on this. What we're going to highlight today is just a couple of the changes that you'll see. The document has become a little bit lengthier, but that's because we're adding information as it's becoming relevant or more pertinent, as we're figuring out best ways to serve students and our staff. And so one of the first changes, and I should have written the page number down, and I apologize for that, but Bill's going to continue to scroll through here, is on isolation protocols. And that's the first change on here. You'll notice that any of the changes are marked in red. And so if you notice something in red, that means that we updated that. And like I said, the first one is around
21.
page 21. Thank you, Sean. is on isolation protocols. And you can see there towards the bottom of that page, some of the red items that we added. So this one, for example, says nurses will use clinical judgment to determine if symptoms presented meet the school exclusion criteria. And then there's another paragraph there. I'm not going to read word for word or all the paragraphs, but I will draw your attention to a couple of them. So that is the first one, and then again, that is on isolation protocols on page 21. If you go a few slides, or it's not slides, but pages further, the next update is on mask policy. And so, as we just heard, anytime we hear new information or information that will keep us better or safer, not better, but safer, we're going to add in there. So one of them there, it says that mask material must be at least 2 layers, right? So we just want to add a little bit more clarity on what that looks like. And then if you continue to go, the next big change is around breakfast and lunch, especially for our students who are attending class virtually. And so that's a little bit further towards the back of the document. And so with breakfast and lunch for our virtual students, there's a paragraph in there that Mr. Galvan, our Director of Food Services or Child Nutrition, updated us with. So again, as we continue to update this document, we will highlight any changes in red. As you can see there, it talks about the changes. So the student does not need to be present in the car, just like we did in summer feeding. It is available pre-K through 8th grade. They can pick it up curbside at the elementaries or the middle schools. And so those are some of the updates that we have contributed to and that you can see there highlighted in red.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes, ma'am.
On the breakfast, during the lunches, we picked up curbside. During the summer, there were some deliveries being made. So that's not gonna happen
I'm
during the
going
school year.
to refer to Tony.
At the moment, there is a provision for that. That doesn't mean we're not going to do it, but as it stands right now, we don't know how to disseminate the meals to the various sites because we don't know how expensive that's going to be. So at the moment, it's going to be a pickup at the campuses or the meal service for those who are attending at the campuses.
Are those children or parents having to call in to make sure that there is a count for them, or how is that?
Well, they will have to, so it's a little bit different than what we have been able to do under some situations. Now, they will actually have to have the student ID. There's still some discussion being had as to whether the student will have to be in the car. Sometimes the regulations just can't be put into practice, and TDA recognizes that, but they don't always push that out initially. As it stands right now, though, they will have to at least have the student ID. I'm not sure if that's specifically addressing your.
So, but nobody will have to call for a lunch count, like saying, Linda's gonna need a breakfast and a lunch.
Oh, I see. Are you talking about the ones that are remote learners?
Yes.
They're not required to call, no. If they're scheduled as a remote learner, those meals will be prepared. Whether they come to pick them up or not, that's, I'm sorry, I thought it should come up there.
Okay.
But, no, it's not gonna work the same as,
Apologize. It won't work the same as on-site, where they have to call in ahead, or make the accounts known ahead of time. They will already be recognized in the system as remote learners. The anticipation is that someone in the family will come to pick up the meals, and so they will prepare them. But when they come to pick them up, that's when they'll have to help those that are serving the meals to document who they're serving them for. So it won't be a call up front.
So you're preparing, just as you've been doing for the sites over the last, well, since March, you have more or less of an idea of how many meals to prepare, and that's going to be the practice moving, continuing, is you know that at this site, you average 150 meals, I'm just saying, and that's what you're gonna prepare.
Exactly. And so obviously some of the challenges that, without getting too deep into it, but if you have a student at a middle school and also a student at an elementary campus, the desire obviously would be that you just go to one location to pick up the meals. However, the regulations are not allowing for that right now. The student is being served the meal, even though it's remote, has to be identified with that campus as it stands at the moment. So that is subject to change. We saw a number of changes in terms of how meal services took place over the summer. We saw that a lot, or in the spring rather. And so we're expecting there's going to be some adjustment here. And what we are sharing right now is just what we're obligated to if we're going to continue to get the federal funding. And that's really key.
Are those numbers still pretty high of serving the food right now through the summer? Are you still seeing the numbers pretty high?
You know what, I don't have the most recent. It did trail down because a lot of people went back to work, and so just the opportunity for them to go get the meals. We've got an update. I can try to get that to you, but I haven't looked at it in a few weeks now.
I'm going down a bunny trail, but maybe we could, just as an outreach to those people still getting the meals, making sure that they've registered for school. Maybe just a flyer in their meal, hey, have you registered? Here's how you do it. Have you looked at the blueprint coming back to school? Maybe just as an outreach to them, getting the meals.
Absolutely.
I have a question on page 23. Well, I just have a question overall about lunch and breakfast. Are they going to be eating in the cafeteria, or are they going to be in their classrooms, or is it a campus decision? Because on page 23 it was talking about if they can't be 6 feet between students, I'm assuming in the cafeteria, they would have to put dividers.
Right. Well, and this has been, like many things, a little bit of an evolution of understanding and thinking. And sometimes when you come to an understanding, you realize, well, why didn't we think of that all along? And initially, the plan was to have all meals served in the classroom and not bring the congregated groups into the cafeteria. However, the problem is once you take the masks off, then social distancing becomes that much more important. And that's going to be necessary wherever you're eating. So there was a revision made, and I'm not exactly sure if all of that's detailed in the blueprint, but a revision was made to the master schedule at all the elementary campuses, and they are going to serve lunch for each grade level. And by doing that, they're able to minimize the number of students congregated in the cafeteria at any one lunch. And so the lunches are going to be served at the elementaries in the cafeteria by grade level. And that way they can maintain social distancing.
Will they be starting about 10:30?
Yeah, it's going to be.
The first one is about 10:50.
Yeah.
And the last one goes till about 1.
Yeah.
So
It's
that-
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but what they are also trying to do, and again, I'm not sure if this is in the blueprint or not, but what they're trying to do is consolidate that meal service to 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes. The reason why they're doing that is because they're hoping that they can actually have an opportunity for the kids to have just a moment of transition and a break before they go to the classroom. And Mark, maybe you can speak to this better than I can, but I think the goal is for them to actually get outside. Now, how are you going to make that happen? I'm not really sure, but that's the initial intent.
So the idea is we will have a lunch period for every single grade level, ranging between 20 and 25 minutes, which is plenty of time for an elementary student to eat, so that they can go out for recess if the time allows. But that'll also give us just enough time to be able to clean all the areas for the next grade level to come in. So it's really tight, but we believe that instead of having the 3 lunch periods the way we usually do, the 5 lunch periods will serve us better, or serve students better.
So what time is breakfast?
Breakfast is in the classroom, and that starts at 7:45.
So breakfast will be done in the classroom, but lunch is in the
come on, Chris.
We're accustomed
We-
to doing
we-
the
we've had-
breakfast
yeah.
in the classroom.
You should be correct.
So why can't they do the lunches in
So.
Teachers have to have the
30 minutes?
Right.
duty-free
So
lunch.
there's a lot of layers, and lunch definitely involves supervision issue. We can't have, kids in a room eating lunch without supervision. Then there's also the public health concern, when we have a lot of layers for the classroom to ensure that it is safe. So that includes not just wearing the masks, but also hand sanitizing as you go into each one of the classrooms. So when you're going in, you have a, clean space, and then everybody takes their masks off and eats. So that was causing concern. So we actually, depending on the local level, so this is kind of an evolving matrix, but where we are right now, kids will actually have face shields, so they can remove their mask, keep their face shield on, and eat breakfast. So we feel like that made the classroom environment safer. The goal is also to maintain social distancing, but until we know how many students are in, each individual classroom, that may not be possible in all the classrooms to maintain that 6-foot social distancing. So the face shield, as TEA puts it, it's a mitigating factor. So as many mitigating factors as you can put in play, so masks, and the face shields, a hand sanitizer, and all these things going on. The goal is to keep COVID from spreading. So lunchroom then is where they'll go at lunchtime, and depending on whether or not you can social distance, we can also in elementary schools use face shields again. So we have all tried, we've practiced eating with face shields. It is very doable, and it just keeps people safer than just having them eat with nothing.
So then we will have the lunch monitors. Are we increasing the number of lunch monitors for school, or are we leaving them at whatever they are for this past year?
Right.
Or maybe
So-
they'll just have longer hours.
Longer hours, and then we also, in elementary, their counselor comes through, there are, other people, and the principal and the assistant principal, so there are people who regularly rotate through the lunches. And then in the secondary schools, due to safety, increasing hall monitors, the number of them so they can have multiple functions, which would include helping with lunch issues and movement of children.
Will we be providing a face shield for every student?
Yes, that is the plan in elementary school.
Did we purchase those? Are they gonna make them? How-
So we're in the process of purchasing those. And I will tell you, it's very ridiculous how many different types of things are out there in every safety category. So face shields, there are a lot of face shields that say face shields on them. And you can't remove that word, and so I'm not buying those. I would like one where the kids can add their name, and kind of decorate them, but, yeah, I'm amazed at how many vendors and how ridiculous some of the products are.
Just a lot of advertising, I would guess.
For face, it's not even who makes it, it just says face shield, and I just don't think
Because
everybody.
they don't know what it is.
Okay, I'm like, clearly it's a face shield.
I've seen them with little hat.
Oh, there's adorable ones, but those are a little pricier, yeah. But we're gonna let students, because I think, this is what it is. And as students are coming to school, there's gonna be these little safety components that they just have to get used to. And so we need to make it individualized, so they will have, the markers and whatever to decorate up their little face shield. In elementary, we've got boxes, just in case we need to go remote, so it's real easy for kids' stuff to move. So decorate that so that, hopefully there's, some individuality that kind of comes with this and a little comfort level, because a lot of this is uncomfortable, but it's what keeps us safe.
In secondary? Face shield secondary?
So we've talked about that. We are looking at social distancing more specifically with more square footage. So secondary schools just look a little different, and you can use more spaces for lunch. So like in the high school with the library and other open areas, and then in the elementary schools with some of the large spaces of fine arts and athletics and whatnot, looking at how you can expand lunch areas. So that's what they look for there. The reason is face shields with elementary students can be given a spot in the room, and the kids are all there. In secondary, that all goes out the window because kids have multiple classrooms. And if you stick a face shield in a backpack, it will not last long. So, plus, kids get to middle school and things that you can convince an elementary school student to do doesn't necessarily fly with a teenager.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah,
We
so-
also created 5 lunch periods at the middle school as well. So they were able to create that schedule. So 6th graders will have 2 lunch periods, so we can split the 6th grade in 2, 7th grade we can split in 2. 8th grade we will split between fine arts, athletics, and the lunchroom.
And of course, we're gonna navigate this as we go. We've got great plans, and we've put a lot of consideration into multiple scenarios, and then we're gonna see it happen. And when that happens, we may be modifying that on day one, and we know that, so.
Everybody comes and they go,
Yeah.
Well, we do appreciate all the work you put into this. You just let the entire task force know how much we appreciate it. It's a lot of work.
It's amazing how y'all wrapped your minds around this and were able to see through all the.
I have a quick question, a technical question. First of all, thank for all the staff for doing this work. It's very detailed and there's like a lot of information in there. Do you have a revision, like for example, every time you change it, like with the very first one, does it have a start date and then like revision A, and then revision B, C, D?
So we are using Google Docs, and so Google Docs, the good thing about it is that it keeps a version every single time. So we have that, but that's not, the only thing that we will publish as a change is what's in red, but we do have the original up until today. Yes, sir.
One more question. How are folks getting the blueprint? Is that when they register for school?
It's online, we share it we've shared it several times, social media, it'll be available print as well. I also think with what Mr. Guerra asked, I think just for those who aren't familiar with Google, we could send a screenshot just so that they can visualize what you mean, and see how we track those changes. I think that'll be helpful.
Yeah, like at work, for example, we have specifications, and at the bottom will say the date, the red A, and then you can go back and look at all the changes that were made, and you can see the original one. So it looks like Google's already doing it automatically.
Yeah. It does it all for us. It's pretty neat to see, but I think it'd be nice to show y'all a visual of just how it captures everything.
Any other questions, Mr. Constable? You're up again? You're up again? Yes, sir. So item 3C is kindergarten and first grade report card update.
So we had the opportunity, starting in the spring, actually the conversation started in the fall, but we said we're gonna wait till the spring. And in the spring, we started the conversation about revising the report card. And so what I'm gonna share here are a couple of slides. First, this does try to our strategic priority number 1 about improving instructional practices. And then on the next slide, it ties to increasing kinder through 3rd grade literacy proficiency so that we make sure that 100% of our students are reading on grade level. And so here on this next slide, 3 major reasons why we decided to revise the report card. One is around the validity and the reliability of our reporting. So on the previous report card, there was a lot more discrepancy at the teacher level of what that looks like and the interpretation of what a 1 means or a 2 or a 3. And so while we want to honor the professional judgment of our teachers, it's really hard to be able as a district to say a child in this campus is a 1 looks the same as a child in this campus as a 1 or a 4 or a 3 or whatnot. And so that was the first bullet there. That was really important for us. The other one is to focus on a continuum based on grade level mastery. So we wanted to change some of the wording, and then on this idea of the continuum that I'll share with you guys about, or with you all, about what is at the beginning of the year, what does that look like, and then as the student progresses, and then as they move from kinder to 1st grade. And so you'll see here the difference between the original marks. The original marks were a 3, a 2, or a 1. We now use language that more people are familiar as students start taking the STAR assessment. So the language that you'll see there, for example, a 1 does not meet grade level expectations. A 2 approaches, right? That's what STAR language uses. So they're approaching grade level expectations. A 3 meets, they're meeting grade level expectations, and a 4, they have mastered that. And so now we believe that the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the explanation of the mark helps create that continuum, right? And that language that most parents know if they have a child who is in the STAR grade level. On this next slide, you'll see some of the revisions that we did on the language arts portion of the report card. So here, it ties specifically to the strand on the student expectations, our TEKS, right, our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. So we wanted to use the language that TEA is holding us accountable for. And so we're using the language of the TEKS. They were just revised the last year. And so we wanted to make sure that whatever we're reporting back on is not only helps parents understand, but it also helps teachers understand and track growth that way. We also made a change where we can use iStation. You all are familiar with the iStation data that we share with you monthly. It is a big initiative, right? We want to make sure that all our students by the end of 3rd grade are on track. So we want to make sure that report cards look for, or have that same language, that we're looking at that on a monthly basis, that we're sharing more information from iStation with our parents. And so this adds another data point. If you go on to the next slide, you'll see math is the same way. So we looked at what do we use in the classroom to measure month to month how students are doing, and we use Imagine Math. So we're using the language from that Imagine Math program in the report card as well, but it's also from the student expectations or our TEKS. So that was a change as well. If you go on to the next slide, we changed from citizenship to SEL, right? So you hear a big shift and a big push in education for social emotional learning, right? SEL. We got our big school climate transformation grant as well that was awarded to us last year and that we're putting into place this year. And so what we did is we used the CASEL competencies. The CASEL is a national organization that supports SEL, and they break it into 5 areas, and those are the 5 areas that we're going to measure. Before, citizenship was just, I guess, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and so just in general, right, citizenship, which is really broad, and so now we name it in these 5 areas around SEL. And then attendance, we continue to track attendance just because we know that that's important. And then here, I think, is one of the biggest revisions that is extremely important, and this is what gives us the clarity, and this is what helps us calibrate across the district. So if you go through those proficiency levels, it's hard for me to read from here, but it says, for example, performance level 1, right? So performance level 1, these are skills and concepts that the student is beginning at, right? So that is a 1. A 2, the student can do this with less support. Level 3, the student can do this consistently, right, throughout the day or throughout the student expectations. And then the students can do this independently. And so you can see there's a continuum there that is clear to read. And now we will share this with parents so that they understand and they have a better idea of what a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 is. And then finally, we just wanted to give you all an overview of what the report card will now look like. So I know it's really small print, but it will be front and back. And this is an image of what it will look like. And here we just laid it out side by side. So we were able to work with teachers from every campus, all the instructional coaches, which are academic deans now, and then principals. And this is what we landed on, and we all feel really good about the product.
I like it. I'm sure the parents will like it as well.
Would their reading levels still be on there?
So the reading level will now come from the iStation reading level. So we will make it an effort to train every single teacher, which they are, but also every single parent and student to understand that what the reading level is. So for example, what does a 500 mean, right? What is the scale? Does that mean that they're in a 5th grade level? Does that mean they're in a 4th grade level? So that's where that's going to be identified as with the iStation reading level.
So we're moving to that from the letters.
Correct. So Fontes and Pinnell uses a scale of letters, A, B, C. So what does an A mean? What does a B mean? And, if you're familiar with students at that age, you begin to pick that up. Same idea with iStation, because we're using iStation as a measure across the district through 8th grade. We want to make sure that we have a scale, not only of hunters and Penal that stops in 5th grade, but something that goes into the middle school as well.
Will teachers, will they still be doing the running records?
Running records and informal miscue analysis and whatnot will happen as well. The main focus will be iStation though.
Can the parents get to the iStation information
Yep.
electronically?
Most definitely. The great thing about iStation and Imagine Math is that it's available 24/7 on any device.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Conti. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, next up is our bond project update. Mr. Lewis. Do we have some architects here? Okay,
I didn't ask him to come in.
that's fine.
President Thomas and his board, it's a pleasure to finally be back in front of you and do a live bond presentation updates as we've been moving on. I just want to, I do want to thank Fluger and PB Group for their work on the project up to this point and our other projects. Also want to thank Mr. Kazania for his vigilance, and you get here early enough, you can see him out there at 4:30 while they're pouring concrete. And I tease him that he's putting his handprints in it somewhere out there and not telling anybody. He is, I know he's not, he's too professional. But I appreciate their efforts. So a little bit of update. We'll start with the stadium. Anybody remember the old stadium? That's what it looked like. All right, it was right there. So as we move on, we are in that construction phase. We're at about 89% completion. Going quick here. Track and field was already turned over, and then we've been using the track and the field area for a few weeks now for summer workouts. Home side bleachers is ongoing. I think probably will be done Thursday or Friday with home side bleacher installation. Going pretty quick. They were putting in the top railings, finishing the seats. They have the staircase that's there for the band to come down. There's also a platform for the director or drum major there in the stands to direct the band. That's about a third of the way up, and then your dance teams be below. So all that's kind of coming together there. We really like the way the ticket booths have come out. We have these nice limestone blockage. Instead of just doing poles, you have to do something that people stop the car. I thought the limestone we decided on were a nice touch. It can also be used for people to sit on. There, the signage, if you noticed, we had additional signage went up 2 days ago on the side of the homes. The Matador Stadium really sticks out, and the letter, kind of that aluminum metal stands out real nice. Plus, we got the Matador Stadium over each ticket booth. If anybody drove by last night, they had all the pole lighting on, like around in the common areas and stuff, and they're all LED lighting, and it really has a really nice trajectory down, but it's very bright and really shines really pretty, makes the place look great. Restrooms, who wants a restroom? We have lots of restrooms. Everybody gets one. Oprah, we give out restrooms. So those are coming in. Every stall there in the men's room, there's dividers between all the urinals and such. Move forward, hand dryers, those kind of things. So there's lots of restrooms still going on. They're getting very close to being finished with the restrooms. There's a lot of them. Concession stand, construction ongoing. You can see that's the visitor side. Concessions, working on the floors right now. Going to do an epoxy kind of flooring on those to finish those off. That's coming along very nicely. Looks good in there. The concourse construction is nice to walk under that concourse. It's a solid, of course, they're solid stands, so they're not waterproof, but they're pretty watertight. You're not going to get the water coming through the drinks, those kind of things. So safe walking underneath. It's all lit up. Plenty of space in the concourse there. Walking through, it's really nice. You see the wider concourse on the home side, of course. The press box construction is ongoing. It's going pretty quick. finishing on the inside, the tile work. It's all painted. They're putting some finishing touches on all of those. Will be in about a week or so to start installing all the technology items. And I think on the 7th, or the 14th, we'll be in to finish off. We start installing all the stuff that we have to run the scoreboard and the PA system and those kind of things. A couple on the milestones. We're on track for completion on September 11th. We have already done a walkthrough of the visitor side for kind of the first punch list on the visitor side, and so they're working on that visitor side punch list at this point. Any questions about the stadium before we move on? There's a lot going on, a lot going up. You'll see there was a concrete pour this morning, and there should be another one here coming up in the next few days around the home ticket booth.
I'm just curious if the parking lot will be clear when the students come back.
Yeah, we're working on that. Most of those pieces will already have been up or used, and they'll have that all cleared out, ready to go.
Thank you.
I do want to point out that the Goldie parking lot, the big majority of it that was not in good shape was redone. It looks beautiful at this point, and we're excited for that. So when you pull up, you get to a nice side. We also have other projects going on that side, just to kind of top it off. The tennis courts are getting resurfacing. The awning has been fixed and put back up. There's some new little bleachers for the tennis courts. So just be pulling the whole side of the approach to that side of the stadium, and we'll just kind of look nice and refreshed, and give the whole thing a nice look as you approach. You pull up and you see the Matador Stadium and the banners and stuff. Just kind of really gives the whole area a new look.
So are those screens or are those metal, the ones that spell out Matador?
Yes, they're kind of a metal-like mesh. They do have, they are porous, but they're very high end. And then there'll be some going on the home side as well later, and those will depict different scenes from the stadium for track and soccer and band and graduation and those kind of things. The things that happen in the stadium will have a picture in those. So it's kind of, we'll need to give it a lot of, there's a little color, kind of hides some of the crossbars and stuff, and just think it kind of gives it a little complete look. So I'm excited about that. Very excited about Briesemeister and the work that's been going on at Briesemeister. We have, we're 100% finished on the pre-design. We're about 71% finished on the design. And bid process, again, it'll go to bid in around November. So it's coming up quick, November, December. We'll start looking at going out to bid for AJB. We've had quite a few meetings, trying to bring as many people as we can to those meetings to review, looking at color selections and reviewing all the spaces, and bringing folks in to look at their spaces and review those spaces and make sure we're on the right track moving forward. As you know, we started with our long-range facility plan. This seems so long ago, but not really. We finished over a year ago now. So we started about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. So it has been a long time coming, and so the plans are moving forward. Looking at all the different pieces that we've gone through and designing and making sure areas are secured and the right doorways and the right pathways and restrooms and just library. Everything's just going to be great spaces moving forward. We went through the design plan, went through different iterations, came up with our design, went through the design phase, did all 100% of that. We're in the construction design phase right now. We went into some color and interior design, bringing in some folks and having people and having some staff look at these, looking at color schemes, looking at carpets, looking at paint, and looking at these different matches. It's going to have that, because you do know we're have to take down a few of those trees out front, so we're going to turn around and incorporate some of those actual trees into the building in different touches throughout the building, and use the actual reclaimed wood and showcase some of those things in the building as we move through. So it's kind of got a little bit of that tree, a little bit of that outdoorsy feel. We're looking at accenting colors throughout the different, I won't call them, kind of pods, hallways, areas, learning spaces. Kind of give each grade level, it's really not that dark, it's really not a, it's a little bit different. It comes out a little different here on the screen than it is. It's really not that color blue. If you look at it on the screen, it comes out a little bit different. Yeah, believe me, there's a lot of discussion about blue. Nobody wants the blue. So we
Eighth graders are gonna be the unicorns.
I just want to go on record saying that I pulled out the blue.
Okay.
Let my constituents know.
So you got kind of a view of the classroom. Of course, furniture, we're in the process still of picking furniture. Some of those things are just used for visual effects. But we brought in a whole bunch of sample furniture that went in the library over there, and staff came in and looked and sat on it and commented on it and looked at chairs and tables and made some input on the kind of things that they liked and didn't like as far as that goes. Looking at our collaborative spaces, they're going to be really, really pretty areas, designed well in these pods that are like surrounded by the classrooms. There's going to be these great collaborative spaces we have some other ideas for these spaces that are kind of going to be add-ons, that will have bids separately, such as some of the classrooms may have like a garage door wall that would come up that you could make that space even bigger and larger. I know it's a funny thing to talk about as we're in COVID at this point, but we're thinking hopeful and down the road and what things will look like when it's back to normal. So looking at some neat things and the different types of furniture pieces that can go in. And looking at our cafetorium, I think it's going to be beautiful, and with a nice stage and meets performance needs for the middle schools, and then they're connected to the right rooms back behind it and storage and those kind of things. The cafeteria is designed beautifully, so it'll mimic a little bit like the high school with the lines, and that's exciting. You get them a nice big space for that. Cafeteria, again, I think is going to be a showcase piece, and that'll be one of the first things that is completed in the process. That'll be one of the first things that students get to use once it's done, is that cafetorium space. Planning a front entrance with again, a secure vestibule and secure office area, and how that whole maze of an office may look. So they can actually have an office. Right now, if you know at AJB, the office is super small, and so staff is spread out in a lot of different places at the campus. So this is going to give us a more unified front office and services together. We're going to have these beautiful corridors with nice color, great lighting. You can see there's some raised ceilings with some natural lighting coming through in those areas as well. So won't be quite as dark, and open those up a little bit. Just some other depictions of the corridors. You can see the accents on the walls. Adding some restrooms to the space, making it more convenient. The different learning pods. This is kind of a look. The top picture is kind of looking down towards. You would have walked right into the current locker mall right there, and that's where the library is going to be right there, and that locker mall is going to take over that locker mall space. So you're kind of, you can see there is a ceiling now in the locker mall. So the library, we've done a lot of work on the library. Gone through a few different revisions, and I think we just came up with a really nice design and concept for the library. It's going to be really pretty, and all the librarians are jealous of this one. Except maybe the high school. She's pretty happy with this. Looking at some changes in the athletics area, just kind of the surrounding areas. Everything's going to get an upgrade with the lockers and locker rooms and the hallways and the areas around the gyms. We're getting an update. So we're coming up with, in October, to have our milestones to be pretty close to finishing with our construction design. Mr. Pisani is working hard with the architects to keep, we're everything that's going on, we're keeping our dates. We're not pushing anything down the road here with the construction. We're trying to keep everything right on task, right on time. and not get a day behind on construction. So whatever it's taken so far, we've just made it work and push other things off to do in the evening if we have to make sure we get these meetings and these processes done so we can get everything going on time. I think we're in an optimal opportunity right now to go out for construction bidding because people want to work, and I think we're going to be sitting in a good position come this fall looking for bids. So, again, a beautiful front entrance plan for the school. Very excited about that. It's just going to be it's great. Again, that front parking lot is going to be one of the first things that gets done. So we'll have a nice new parking lot after that first year or so, ready to go. So some of the things that are needed, parking, cafeteria, are going to be the first two things that are going. Dr. Diaz has been very accommodating, even as with the portables he put over there, clearing out a few additional classrooms and making good space so we can even start work on some other areas quicker and move the timeline a little bit faster and make some areas more available and be ready for students a little bit quicker. So it's been a great process. Any questions on AJB?
Bill,
Yes.
on No Name Road, or does that road have a name now? Connects Kingsbury to Court.
I like No Name Road. It does have a name. I think it was named after a governor or something. Or
Governor Ireland.
yes.
Okay. There is a tree dedicated to Owen Fidel. Lining, we just need to make sure that that doesn't get harmed or anything.
Right. Absolutely.
And the area where you talked about. It's off of No Name for Governor Ireland.
Oh, it's not in front of the school.
It's on that side
It's on the
where
side.
it's portable used to be. I think there's a plaque there too.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for
So-
Yeah, that was brought to my attention.
Okay.
The start date is February 2021, the start date, what do you anticipate that the finish date is gonna be?
We've been adjusting that right now. It would have been, if we start in February 2021, we were looking at end of 2023, or depends on how fast we get into certain places. And like I said, Dr. Diaz's help, we were looking at like a finish of spring 2024. We may be able to move that up again once we get the contractor on board, and then we start talking about those transitions and timelines. We have it planned out. So it's an almost a 2.5-year process.
So it'll be like a transition, some will be affordable, and some will be moving in slow.
Yeah, so there'll be a school that we don't have to build it before you use it. We'll use it as we build it. So we'll build a piece. Like when that cafeteria gets done, we'll start using that cafeteria, and then the old cafeteria gets shut off, and they start remodeling that area, which is going to be the new front office. So they'll start that, and then they'll have classroom space already going, and then as things open, then we'll close something else down and get it built. And there'll be some things done over the summer, maybe a couple months in the spring and in the summer, and then they'll be ready to go in the fall. Like the locker room remodeling is going to be a fairly quick process. Front of the school is amazing. You look at it, it's just going to be a different school all around. We do have the Jefferson project going on as well. Looking at doing some again, kind of closing that corner off right there. Doing a lot of upgrades to HVAC system, roofing, electrical. A lot of really aging items over there that we're going to give that first round up facelift to. Again, I think our 3.9 million for that project is going to go a long way. So we've even added a few things that we might can do on the wish list. If we come in under, we can maybe add a few things over there as well and get that process going.
Does this project include anything about replacing plumbing at Jefferson?
Some of it, yes. There could be some possible with the bathroom, but there could be some plumbing issues as well. So we've got a few things listed there.
Okay.
Let's see. Things I didn't have on here was the playgrounds at this time. I mean, the playgrounds are almost completely finished. They're going to all be ready to go for school starting, so our kids are going to have nice new playgrounds to jump out on there. All the sidewalk work that's gone out to make them accessible and get kids walking on the sidewalks when they're coming back into the schools to reduce the amount of dirt, especially I think We really want to encourage our kids to be outside here in the fall, in that traffic, try to keep our schools a little bit cleaner and such, so we're excited about that. I think when they get back and see those playgrounds are gonna be, it'll make maybe some things fade off a little bit when they see those nice playgrounds.
So Bill, the start date for Jefferson is about the same time as the Breeze?
We are going to bid it at the exact same time, bid it together, and people have an option to bid on one or the other, or they can bid both, which I think is probably gonna get our most bang for the buck if we, maybe somebody will just throw it in free. Buy one, get one half off, you know.
I have a quick question. So on Rodriguez, that was the only playground that was extended, except 45 feet? Were any of the other playgrounds in the other elementary schools extended or no?
Playgrounds extended.
The fence was extended 45
Oh,
feet?
we pushed the fence back just to create a little more field space. Back there, some open play space.
But it was only in Rodriguez, right? Not the old-
Yeah, most of the other ones either, I mean, are locked, like Weinert is locked, but other ones like Podlawn and Vogel and Kennedy, they have a lot of open space already. So, you know, Rodriguez, it used to be pushed, since that was kind of their play field, put the playground there, and moved that fence back to create some more open space for a lot of running around. All right,
Thanks for the update.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is our, we'll be going into closed session. Excuse me, pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Opens Meeting Act, Government Code, Section 551.071, .074, .129, which is consultation with legal counsel, including possible telephone consultation with legal counsel as necessary to address legal concerns, implications, and answer any legal questions regarding posted agenda items. Also pursuant to Government Code 551.074 to discuss personnel matters, including appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of an employee. Specifically, discussion regarding career and technical education director. And then also pursuant to Government Code 551.072 to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. It is now 7:47, and we are going into closed session. Everybody knows where we're going, right? Okay, we're all back, and we will now open at, it is 8:31. And first up, we have to take possible action to select a career and technical education director.
Madam President, I move that we approve Richard Gu as the Career and Technology Director.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Ms. Duncan? Any further comments, questions? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We don't have to put our hand right by our ear.
So good evening. We have Mr. Richard Boo coming from us. He's a coordinator at Hayes Consolidated ISD. He's the CTE coordinator. He comes with 22 years of experience, all in the CTE realm. So he believes in building strong relationships with teachers to improve instructional quality. He has experience in working with an instructional framework and integrating that framework into a district-wide CTE instructional plan. He has a strong commitment to provide students with learning opportunities that will prepare them for college or career opportunities after high school. So please help me welcome Mr. Boo to Matador Country.
We might not recognize you.
I am smiling. Ms. Thomas Minez, Board, and Dr. Gutierrez, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I am excited about what can be done here in Seguin ISD. There is a foundation that has been laid already by Mr. Gonzalez, and I am looking forward to building from that foundation a district-wide program that you will all be proud of and the community will be proud of.
Well, we're very excited.
Welcome to Seguin.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a great day to be a Matador.
Yes.
Next up is our consent agenda items. DE local states that consent agendas shall include items of a routine and/or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless the board member requests a non-voting vote for any other consideration. Remaining items shall be adopted under one single motion. So we have the approval of board minutes for the regular meeting July 28, 2020, the special meeting August 3rd, 2020, and special meeting August 12th, 2020. The approval of tax collection reports for July 2020. The approval of proposed budget amendment and financial statements for July 2020. I just noticed my mic wasn't on, it matters. The approval of donations received July 2020, adoption of the order setting the tax rate for 2020, the adult meal pricing for the 2021 school year, the first reading for consideration or approval of the TASB policy update 115 affecting legal and local policies and local district update for LDU and FM local. County extension agents as to approve the county extension agents as adjunct staff members. Extracurricular activity listing for the 2020 through 2021 school year. Consideration of approval of the Texas Teacher Evaluation Support System or TTES and annual teacher review or ATR calendar and procedures for 2020-2021. Consideration of approval of certified appraisers for 2020-2021, and you all did receive an update on that separately. And to acknowledge Public Information Act requests for July through August 2020.
Madam President, I move for approval for the consent agenda items.
All right. And second, all right. Any questions or comments? Nobody wants to pull anything? All right. I have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan and Mr. Amador. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right, moving into our action items. First up, we have a TEA waiver and parent notice requirement for students at risk of failure. Mr. Kantu, you're back.
Got two more. So what I bring before you today is a waiver. We don't have an exhibit for this one because it's pretty straightforward. The reason that we have to file a waiver for this is every year TEA requires any student who fails either 4th or 7th grade STAR because the following year or 5th and 8th grade is an SSI year, right? So they could be retained if they don't pass their first administration. So what we're doing, or what the state requires, is us to give parents an early warning and say, your child failed in 4th grade or in 7th grade. We're going to prepare them and make sure that they have the best instructions so that they don't fail again when they get to 5th and 8th and possibly be retained. This year what we're saying is we're delaying that letter to them until the beginning of the school year. So we will use beginning of year data from iStation, Imagine Math, and other teacher level data to identify those students who are possibly at risk of failing. TEA has this year suspended the SSI requirement, so there will only be one test. If they fail it, we go through the regular either retention or promotion progress, but we don't have to follow the TEA retention policy this year for 5th and 8th grade. So all we're asking is that we do this at the beginning of the year instead of at the end of the year like we usually do.
It's pretty straightforward. Any questions? Do I hear a motion for approval? Mr. Amador has made a motion to approve the TEA waiver as presented. Do I hear a second? Mr. Guerra, thank you. No questions at all, so all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. And so next up is the possible approval for the updated Seguin ISD District of Innovation Plan.
So this evening, we want to propose an update to our District of Innovation. About 3 years ago, you all approved this plan, and so what I'm going to share with you all is just briefly the history of this, what it allows us to do, and then move to what we want to propose. So Bill, if you would help me with the slides here, please. So this first slide just tells us a little bit about what is the District of Innovation. And so we know that in the 84th legislature, it allowed campuses some flexibility to be able to waive some of the laws. And so we use this to waive 2 of them, and we're going to add a possible third. On the next slide, we share with you all just what it is, our local policy. And so this is legal policy, AF that you see here. And what it says is it, again, just allows us to waive some of those requirements from TEC. On the next slide, we talk about possible benefits. So one of the benefits is that it allows districts to improve educational outcomes with this local input and less regulation from Austin. It allows us to market the district. It allows us to use this to access some of the programmatic and administrative freedoms that we don't necessarily have unless you all approve this. And then it allows us to make some reforms from some of our lowest performing campuses. On the next slide, it talks about the District Advisory Committee. So we use what we call the DEIC, or the District Education Improvement Committee. These are members that are nominated by their campus, where we have 2 for each campus, and they meet with us throughout the year, almost every month. And so the original plan had to be developed with them, and then any amendment has to be approved by them. So on August the 5th, we had a DEIC meeting. We had over 23 representatives, and they approved this amendment. So that was step 1. Step 2 is that you all approve it tonight. So on the next slide, we know that you all approved a 5-year plan. That is the max term that we can approve. We're about to enter year 3. At the end of the 5-year term, we will have to come back and reapprove that plan. So one of the current innovations that we already have in place is that we get to determine our start date. This year was a little bit different, right? But traditionally, every school in Texas starts, like the 4th Monday in August. We usually start a few days before that, and that is one of the innovations that you currently approve. The next innovation that we also have in place is on the next slide, which allows us to waive some of the requirements, especially in the CTE program, so that we don't have to have a Texas certified teacher with a traditional certification. We can use experts in the field and then work with them to obtain some sort of certifications. And so that is another thing that we have in there. And what we're proposing today really impacts professional development. So the state of Texas has a law that says that every teacher in a 2-week period has to have 450 minutes of planning time, which includes parent-teacher conferences, evaluating students' work, and the time to plan. What we want to propose is that we use this, instead of individual planning time, we use this as a PLC. So instead of teachers being able to opt out and say, I will not join the PLC today, I'm going to work in my classroom because the law allows me to do that, we are saying we're waiving that requirement, and we're asking you to plan with your PLC. So part of why this is important is if you look at that data there, we have about 40% of our teachers who have 0 to 5 years experience, right? And so we want to be able to build that teacher capacity pretty quickly, and we know that the professional learning communities allow us to do that. That job embedded PD, right, that can be facilitated by either central office staff or district level staff. And so this is going to help not only build teacher capacity, right, but it builds that community of learners that we really need, right, that network of learners. And so we believe that if you all approve this, it'll help us not only in our middle schools that are our F schools, but across all the schools in the district. And so this will allow us to meet in PLCs at a minimum once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. One of the things that I did share with the DEIC committee is that I will not allow principals to use this time for anything that is non-instructional. So we want to keep this time sacred for what the intent of the law is, which is planning, right, evaluating student work, still having time for parent-teacher conferences, but we do a lot of that as a team now.
So will the district, on a weekly basis mandate how many PLCs that it's gonna be that week, or?
Yeah, so
Who's gonna-
it's gonna depend on the grade level or the campus. So most of the time, the way the elementaries have been working around this, and they plan to continue to do the same, is that they have the specials teachers who are a little bit more flexible, right? And so instead of having a 45-minute special rotation, maybe on that PLC day, they have a 60-minute special rotation, and they work with the teachers to be able to do that. Unfortunately, our middle schools don't have that flexibility, right? Because they've got that 47-minute period or 49-minute period, whatever it is, that they have to switch classes. And so that is why we want to capitalize on that time that they have to plan to use for PLC time. So it won't impact the elementaries as much as it will the two middle schools and the high school.
I noticed on the blueprint,
Mhm.
like, the schedule has the 4 subjects in the morning for the middle school, and then it has an SEL in the afternoon, except for Wednesdays. What happens on Wednesdays?
Yeah, so that is a sample that we were looking at. What we will probably do is we are going to update it so that the two middle schools had some flex time built in only on only Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wednesdays was going to be the time that they were going to use for some of this PLC time, so they was not going to allow for that. What we have decided is to move to where we have a flex time every single day. So Monday through Friday, and during that flex time, it just allows us another period of either teacher preparation or synchronous learning. And so that schedule will be revised to include the new revised schedule.
So do they still have time to themselves during the day? Or is this one day a week, well, they won't get any time to themselves?
So this is usually the time where they have either to call parents or work in their classroom. If it is a campus mandated PLC time, it will be within this time.
Are you still thinking?
Yeah.
I know. I think we're just maybe a little concerned that, so the amount of time they're gonna be in PLCs and whether they'll have any time to
Yeah.
make parent phone calls and things like that without feeling the pressure of having to be in that PLC.
So I think at the end of the day, what we will see is a schedule where you will have, you know, on your week, on your regular week, you will have one mandatory district-led PLC. This is just a sample, so don't hold me to this, but this is a pretty good sample. You will have one campus-led PLC. And then what we will say is, we encourage you to work with your PLC to plan during the rest of the time.
Okay.
But you will not have, no teacher will have a PLC every single day all week. That I can reassure you. And that is why I told the DEIC, you know, the other thing that we want to make sure that we hold true to is, we're not going to take away any time for a faculty meeting type PLC, right? Or to plan the fall festival that's coming up next week or anything like that. If we capitalize on this time, it's going to be used for planning, for, especially now with, here's why it's also really important right now is to support our teachers with virtual teaching or virtual learning. One of the things that we realized that went really well is that during the COVID shutdown, it forced us to talk to teachers across the district in the same grade level. And so we want to be able to continue that. Again, we have some flexibility at the elementaries, at the middle school, we have some flexibilities, and we just want to maximize that so that whether you're at Breezy or at Barnes, 6th grade teachers and ELA can meet at the same time, right? At the elementary, some of this will have to happen after school. Some of it may still be able to happen during school. The problem is that you're now trying to have have 7 campuses come together with the same schedule. It's easy with 2 campuses, and at the high school, it's not that difficult because it's 1 campus. But it will allow us some flexibility to be able to meet now virtually, to be able to support those teachers. So that is an additional PLC that they may not have now, but we think is extremely important to support the teachers through it.
And I know you said you have supported the DEIC, and they fully are aware of what they were signing on to, and the teachers are.
We shared this exact same presentation, so if you go to the next, this is where we took the vote together. So what you're seeing is what the DEIC saw.
Well, I do think it is very innovative, actually, with as many young teachers that we have, and they're gonna need the support, so.
And it is a shift. If we're going to be a PLC district, we have to commit the time. And it's hard for some of us who are not accustomed to that collaboration and have a hard time when you've done things a certain way. But we've got to be committed, especially to building capacity of our novice teachers when almost half of our teachers are new to the field, and it takes 7 to 8 years to really develop as a teacher. We have to commit to building capacity, but also commit the time to analyzing data, to lesson planning, to building common assessments. And can campuses, it's easier probably for elementary to work around and build in that PLC time without having to take a conference time, and that's okay. But we have to do things differently because the way that we've done them isn't yielding the results that we want. We've tried an additional conference period. We've tried different things over the years, not just in the last 3 years, that aren't yielding results. And so if we can structure these PLCs in a way that's common, that allows for campuses to work together, that allows for LLS to work closely with teacher teams, then I believe we can see the results that we've been wanting to see for so long. Are we going to get 100% approval on this? No, we're not going to. And did it pass with 100% in DEIC? It did not. But we talk about our commitment to PLCs and how it is part of our strategic plan. It's a superintendent goal. We have to carve out the time. And in some campuses, they may carve out the time after school, and that's okay. They still have the flexibility, but what we're going to commit to is the district-led PLC time per week and the campus-led PLC time per week, so that we can, and we've seen as we've come together, specifically our elementaries, and we're all on the same page, doing the same things, and we can support those elementaries. We're seeing the fruits of those labors with our results with literacy. We were on the path to meet the year 1 goal. In fact, iStation wants to highlight our school district because they said that the growth that we saw is very unique, and so they're looking to highlight Seguin ISD. And we're on the right path, and unfortunately everything came to a standstill. But there's still a need for us to fine-tune the systems we have in place when it comes to PLCs, and this is going to afford us that flexibility to be able to do that. And if it won't be abused. I think our principals know and understand what this means, and it can't happen. We'll hear from our teachers.
What happens to the singletons, like the art department,
So, at the middle schools and at the high school as well, they've got a PLC. So there's a fine arts PLC that we created, and then there's a general electives PLC that we created. And this year, we're providing a stipend for those leads and the general electives, which we hadn't in the past. We had already done that for fine arts. So even though they're teaching, one of them's teaching art and the other one's teaching theater, arts, or band, we still come together as a fine art department, or we still come together as an elective department. CTE at the high school has been meeting as a PLC, and we will continue to make that push even though they're singletons.
What about the physical education and health department?
I believe they're part of the general electives PLC. Yes.
Those are always difficult to.
They are, because you've got someone almost every single period, and it's hard with a number of students.
Any further questions? Not, do I hear a motion for approval?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve the updated Seguin ISD district evaluation plan.
Thank you, Mr. Gales. Second from Mr. Jenkins. No further questions or comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Post same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is item 7C, possible action to approve the order declaring the election of unopposed candidates for voting District 1, 3, and 6. I have you down, Dr. Gutierrez. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approves an order declaring the election of unopposed candidates in District 1, 3, and 6 to cancel the election.
I second the motion.
Mr. Amador has made a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
You do.
Ms. Duncan? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. These three people are really smiling.
It's a lot of money, you said.
And time walking, knocking on doors, yeah, doors. It's very time.
Probably wouldn't have been a good concept this year.
All right, and then our last action item is our personnel action for professional employees.
This is a nice, short and sweet action item. We would like the Board of Trustees to recognize and acknowledge the new professional hires. I'd like to highlight Ms. Julie Krieger at Potlan Elementary. She has experience with virtual teaching. She was in Beijing, China, teaching English. Also, Barbara Taylor is going to be the new AJB Middle School math teacher, I believe, with 25 years of experience, so we're excited to welcome Ms. Taylor. Also, here's a list of resignations for your acknowledgement.
Any questions for Ms. Moreno? All right, now do I hear a motion to approve the list of new professional hires and the resignations listed? Yes, Ms. Crittenden, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I was looking this way. Ms. Moreno. All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. And last up, we have board comments and requests. Anybody have anything?
I'd really like to see the new stadium.
The tour will be scheduled for you all as soon as we get to completion.
Is there any about going to the football games, has there been a decision made as to percentage of?
We talked about that today.
Yes, we'll get you all an update tomorrow, what that's going to look like.
But that may not be the final thing, it may change.
It could, yeah.
If it is 25%, then I would think that the parents of the players would be given.
Yes, they have a plan that outlines priority, and we'll share that with you all because questions will start coming.
I also think that grandparents should be considered.
I do have a quick thing. September 3rd is another food distribution event that the city is doing along with the hospital and Rockville Food Bank. There might be a good partnership here. You have people captured in that moment that maybe you could ask them if you could have a station, that maybe you could have a flyer to make sure that your student is signed up, registered for school. Just some bullet points about how to go about registering, just a thought.
Great idea, thank you.
Welcome.
So we're at about 70%, which is really fine, because, I mean, that's not for your returning kids. I mean, all those kids that are returning are already in the system, so they all have schedules, they're all there. So we're planning on all those kids to be here on day one already. So we're in good shape. The issue comes in just trying to get them to decide, are you coming back online, or are you coming back face to face to get those numbers settled? But we're about right on where we thought we'd be at this time, just based on what other districts have done.
So are we still looking at 50-50 for face-to-face?
Across the board, we're pretty much 50-50. Some are a little higher, some a little lower. Across the board, it's 50. I think it's actually 51-49 right now. 51 staying at home.
I had an idea about the first day of school, it's completely up to you all, but I think I'm gonna go over to my home campus in Queenie and be there when the kids are coming in. Maybe I'll just hold the door and say hello, I don't know. I just think it would mean a lot to the administration and the teachers if we were just, 5 or 10 minutes. So it's entirely up to you. If you're gonna do that, let your admin know. Yes?
I would just like to acknowledge, I know the next time we have our regular board meeting, school will be in effect by then, so I would just like to acknowledge all the administration, teachers, and students, and staff, and custodial people, and the cafeteria people also, to be patient. And we talked about this before, the first 2 weeks is gonna be like a learning curve, it's going to be tweaked. So if there's anything that they need from the board, just let us know, definitely let us know.
Thank you, and just a reminder to tune in to tomorrow's town halls. We've received amazing response from Thought Exchange. They've actually shared how the level of engagement's pretty unusual, in a good way.
Special education, keep it separate.
And thank you again for, I know you guys have been working so hard, so thank you to your team and beyond. Thank you.
Trustees and leadership team, let's keep our fingers crossed. On September 22nd, our next board meeting, we're hoping to get our photo done for the wall.
Mask and all?
Well,
because that's
We think a very
historic.
unusual.
it would. We may have to take our masks off and hold our breath so the photographer can take the picture real quick. We'll see. If we have to push it back, we'll push it back. But we had it scheduled for March, and
But
we
50 years from now?
haven't been able to do it.
That was that pandemic.
Mm-hmm. So we'll keep you informed.
For that.
Do you think it should be on? I think it should be on.
What do you ask?
Or we should do a both.
What should we wear? Are we wearing like
We're wondering what we should wear for that photo.
It's usually pretty,
Professional attire.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
For the board, one of those photos.
Mm-hmm.
You're assuming that we're like a traditional board.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Ms. Moreno.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Everybody raise your hand if you're in favor of that. It is 9:03. We're going to adjourn this meeting.